Hello friends, this is video number 1 of our new series installation of the PostgreSQL database. Now there are two types of installation. Either you make the installation from a precompiled package or from a source package. I will focus basically on the installation from a source code for reasons that I will explain to you later. But for those of you who wish to make the installation from a precompiled package, I will show you how to do that in this video. Now there are two ways to make the installation from a precompiled package. The first way is here you have to mention the version, the current version. I'm choosing number 10. Now this is the line of code. When you enter it and you press enter, there is something called the package manager. This package manager will be used with the precompiled packages, and this package manager will take care of the entire installation process. And also, if there will be any updates for this package in the future, the package manager also will handle the updates. Even it can make the removal of the package from your system. So once you hit enter, after you writing this line of code, the package manager will handle the entire installation process, and then it will create you a default user by the name of Postgres, and this Postgres default user, you can use it later on to create other users and other databases. This is the first way to install the PostgreSQL database server on your Ubuntu server. There is another way I'll show to you how you can, which can give you the same result, exactly the same, using task cell. Now as you can see here in this list, there are many programs, useful programs. Some of them you can install with your Ubuntu server 18.04. One of these programs is this one, the PostgreSQL database. If you check this box and you hit OK, then the package manager will start the installation of the PostgreSQL database on your Ubuntu server, and the final result will be exactly the same one as we used with the previous line of code. And also you will get a default user by the name of Postgres, from which you can create other database by using the sudo psql. So that default user with the sudo psql, you can create other databases. Now, having explained these two ways of installation packages, let's go deeper with the details. Now once you have completed the installation, you can use this line of code, system control start Postgres service, and this will start the entire instance of the PostgreSQL database, and you will have an instance that from which you can, with your Postgres default user, you can create other databases, tables, whatever you want. Now why I don't prefer this way, although it is a very easy way and the package manager can handle everything for you, because later on when you want to encrypt the database, you will have one way to encrypt the database, which is using the pgcrypto package. Now the pgcrypto package can encrypt, decrypt only one or maximum two columns of any database. So it is limited with the encryption capabilities. It cannot encrypt the entire database. Maximum one or maximum two columns of any database table it can encrypt, decrypt. And for some businesses this might not be sufficient or even possible to handle, because they need to encrypt the entire database. Now if you go alone with this precompiled package installation using the pgcrypto package, you need to take care, or you need to focus on 2 points, two important points. The first point is that your database should be encryption enabled. It has to be encryption enabled, otherwise you cannot encrypt or decrypt your database columns. And the second way is that these columns that you will encrypt or decrypt, they have to be only of type byte array. So the PG crypto cannot encrypt other types of columns like string type, like type object or integer or whatever. The PG crypto can encrypt only columns of type byte A. Now for the first one, is that the database should be encryption enabled. You can do that simply by sudo u Postgres PSQL. This is the default user. You create another database, which is a new database. You change to that database, and this new database you just add to it this line of code: create extension pgcrypto. Once you have added this extension pgcrypto to that new database, then you will have a database that is encryption enabled, and you can later on with your application you can encrypt and decrypt your columns. Supposedly these columns have to be of type byte array. Now if you have complied, let me say, with these two things which you have just said now, then you will have two modes of functions that you can use for the encryption. The first mode is the PGP encryption functions, and the second one is the row encryption functions. The second type is easy to factor, but it's highly unrecommended because it has a lot of problems and it's very weak. The PGP is more secure, more strong in encryption, but it has more parameters to factor, so it's kind of not easy to handle and to process, but in general it's more secure. If you can do it, then it's more secure and it's more recommended than the row encryption function. But for those of you also who wish to know more about the row encryption functions, it's a very easy thing. You just, for the encryption, this is the way it is, and it will return a byte array, and for the decryption the same thing, and it will return also a byte array. Now this data means the column that the data that you want to encrypt or decrypt, and the key is that the user key. You have to select a key which will be considered as a cipher key, and also it should be a byte array. You have to change it to make it a byte array, and here the type is called text. This type consists of three parameters: the algorithm, the mode, and the pad. The algorithm, you can use two algorithms, either Blowfish or AES, which is either 128-bit, 192-bit, or 256-bit. And the mode is either CBC or ECB. I believe you might have a good, or at least some idea about the modes of the encryption. And there is the pad, the padding, whether the pad is like an 8-byte. If it's the entire byte you will encrypt, or there will be some bytes which are not encrypted. I believe also the padding, which is called the padding, you have some idea about it. And there are two types of padding which you can use in here. Either it's PKCS or the none. It should be used in here. Now in your application, now we're talking about in your application, if you want to encrypt and decrypt any column, you can apply these lines for the encryption or this line for the decryption. And let's suppose that you want to insert or update one column. So let's say insert into some table, column 1 and column 2. Column 1 is an integer with a value 1. Column 2 is the one that you want to encrypt. You use this encrypt. This is the value that you want to encrypt, which is in some column, and it has to be in a byte array, and then the key which you have to select and you enter it, and also it's in a byte array. And then this is the third parameter, which consists of 3 parameters: the algorithm, the key, and the type. Here is AES. You will write it like this way. Of course, you can select whichever you want as per the mode or as per the padding. AES, but in general this is the way: AES dash CBC slash pad. You can use the padding way. And for the decryption, you select column 1, decrypt. Column 2, here you have to add the column which you want to decrypt, and also the key which you have selected in here. Should be byte array, and the same thing with the third parameter. This is the general way for the first type of installation for the PostgreSQL database. It is from a precompiled package. The package manager will handle the entire installation, will handle any update in the future, and even the removal of the package from your system. There are 2 ways, as I showed you, where you get the package from, and you can install directly. Once you complete the installation, you just add this code to start the PostgreSQL instance. Both installation way will give you a default user by the name of Postgres, from which you can create other databases and users. Once you have started your PostgreSQL instance, that's it. You have a ready PostgreSQL server to use. As for the encryption, as I have mentioned all in here, this is the reason why I don't choose the precompiled package, because the PG Crypto is limited with the encryption capabilities. It can encrypt 1 or maximum 2 columns of each database. In the next video I will explain to you how you can install the PostgreSQL package from the source code, and in that video I will tell you about a new technique which is called data at rest encryption. With the data at rest encryption, you can encrypt the entire cluster of databases. Plus there are some other benefits from the data at rest encryption. Thank you for watching.